Okay, Graybeard here. Thanks for watching. Want to kind of give a couple of things going on. Let's give a quick spoiler warning. This will be about today's episode. This will be about last week's episode. I didn't do a breakdown for last week because I didn't like it. It didn't seem like a lot went on, but there were some things, and I wanted to touch on them real quick. All right, so your spoiler warning: 1, 2, 3. If you're still here, sorry. If you don't like being spoiled, you're going to be. So again, here's your last chance. Drop off now. All right, guys, going forward. So I didn't like last week's episode. It was just kind of, I don't know, exposition-y. I didn't like a lot of things. So one of the things I didn't like was it seemed like Loki became overpowered somehow. He was able to telekinetically lift up a building, or I kind of think he palmed a time stone, but I don't know. I'm not sure about this. So I didn't see any green magic. You know, whenever Doctor Strange used his magic, you saw the little green thing show across his hand. I went frame by frame last week, and I just didn't see that. And so I don't know. I'm pretty confused there. Week before last, I realized as I was watching the show, I was watching in another country, and it actually said that Sylvie would be the name that I guess the female Loki was going to take. And then I did frame by frame, and I discovered at some point he's reading some of the documents, and they show the name Sylvie, Laufey's daughter. Laufey is the frost giant that's Loki's dad. So I'm kind of confused. It seems like it's like a jamming together of a couple of different folks. One being Sylvie from the comics. Sylvie from the comics has a very convoluted story, but she's also one of the Young Avengers, at least in the dark Young Avengers. And her magic is on par with Billy, who is stronger than Wanda. So and both maybe stronger than Doctor Strange. So yeah, but Sylvie is a being that was created by old Loki. The whole thing's very convoluted. You got to read all this stuff. but I'm trying to break it down for you. But she's not really human, and she's also not Asgardian. So it's kind of like a joke on his part to make a human that's not a human, that's not thinks that they could be Asgardian, but isn't Asgardian. So there you go. In this, it seems like they're jamming her and the Loki character together as a variant Loki, but it's kind of confusing. So last episode we get kind of them. It's almost like the Lord of the Rings, them walking. And at times Loki has extra strength. At times he gets thrown out of a window. And so one of my friends, and I owe apology to him. He suggested that they would be brought back to the TVA simply by Owen Wilson's character coming and getting them. That's kind of what happened. And I was like, how do you know for sure that the time pad was broken? Loki said it was, but it's all magic. He does sleight of hand, and I don't know that any of it could be broken. It could be not broken. Who knows? And then at the time when that building fell, he just kind of magicked it up, and seemed like he used telekinesis, but he could have had a time stone, so he could just reverse time possibly. I don't know. In the end, So this episode, again, if you've not seen it yet, here's your last chance to drop off, guys. Now I'm going to get into this week, and if you've not watched this week, trouble. All right, so apparently the TVA has fixed all of the variant time streams, and then suddenly, because Loki starts having bad, like he falls in love with himself, which is narcissism to the highest level, isn't it? But because he falls in love with himself, he actually makes a time variance. It's almost like the Brady Bunch there. It's like the Jan and whatever, they're starting to have weird thoughts, and then boom. So Marsha. I don't know. So yeah. So like as soon as Loki starts getting that little twinkle in his eye, then they TVA shows up and pulls back to the TVA, but the one hunter, Sylvie kind of had controlled her for a second, and in doing so, apparently let her see glimpses of her past before the time when she was a variant. Then also the other Owen Wilson's character, he starts having questions, and it seems to me that Ravena is definitely in the know. She knows that the timekeepers are fake. She knows that that they're all variants. She probably didn't know before, but one of the things that happens in the show is, she knows that the Lokis have a pretty big sense of self, and so when Sylvie asked her, "Why did you lock me up?" she kind of just went, "I don't remember." But you can see the smile, the little smirk. She totally remembered. Then when Sylvie cut the head off of the timekeeper, and it turns out to be a robot, Ravena Rickslayer wasn't surprised, and so she's in the know. She's been in the know. In the comics, she's Kang's girlfriend. When Kang has lots of variants. It's really confusing. I like the word variant now. I don't think we had that before. But one of them was Immortus, and Immortus was, and I think this ties into this show. Immortus lived in another realm and ruled over that realm, and kind of quit being Kang the Conqueror. So Kang the Conqueror would go to a timeline, conquer it, then move on and go to another time. And he kept kind of getting beat back by the Avengers or the Fantastic Four or whatever. At some point, the timekeepers said, "Hey, whoa, quit doing that, and we will make you immortal." And so he lived in Limbo. I think it was Limbo. Yeah, I think it's Limbo. And he lived in Limbo, which is, between death and life. And he could live forever and rule over his area in Limbo. So I kind of think that's where Loki went to. So his girlfriend at the time was Rickslayer, and I think she still is. I think the other person that she's talking about in the third episode, that she had other people there. I think that's Kang. That were putting in rings on her coffee table there. But that could also be Owen Wilson. What I mean is he kept getting his mind erased, I think. So I think all these variants have their minds erased, and I think that they are continuously being erased. So whenever it gets kind of iffy, they probably get erased. And I think that erasure occurs in Limbo with Kang the Conqueror. I don't think that Rickslayer is the one doing the erasing. So I think when they hit him with that baton, they go into Limbo. I think that's where all those Lokis are. Now, some of the Lokis that were there that were interesting. So the first one is on the credits. So if you didn't see it, at the end, you think Loki is dead, and then the end credit scenes at the end of it, they have Loki, and yeah, so there's 4 Lokis that show up. I don't know, 3.5. I don't know. So and 2 of them they have names for. One's classic Loki, which was who I would call Old Man Loki, I think. And in the comics, in the Agent of Asgard comic, a younger Loki, I wouldn't say a kid Loki, a younger Loki is there. And that younger Loki is doing the bidding of the All Mothers. And so Odin has disappeared, has died, or whatever, and All Mothers have taken over. And come to find out that old Loki, 1,000-year-old Loki, has come from the future, and he's kind of running things in the background. And I wonder if this is what they call classic Loki, isn't the old Loki. And I wouldn't be surprised, one of 2 things. Either Kang the Conqueror or Immortus or whoever is running the TVA, or 2, Loki is running it, Old Man Loki. Wouldn't be too surprised either way. So I didn't that's not one of my predictions. My 10 was that there would be an Old Man Loki. After the first show, I was like, man, I debated putting in 11 and putting in Old Man Loki. And I kind of wish I had. But I did think the true villain of the show would be the TVA itself, and it feels like all these shows, it's not the bad guy necessarily that's the bad guy. It's the establishment. It's the man. And so the government, whoever, in WandaVision, it was ultimately S.W.O.R.D. were bad guys. In The Winter Soldier, the government that put in John Walker were the bad guys, and the government that was holding down the poor innocent folks that were killing people and were actually terrorists. But those governments were the bad guys, and in this case, it'll be the TVA. And so I predicted that. We see that the timekeepers are actually animatronics. They are the same as Chuck E. Cheese, basically, or Mickey Mouse or whatever. I'm sure this video maybe get stopped because I just said the word Chuck E. Cheese or Mickey Mouse. I don't know. So the question is, who's the power behind the power? Who's actually the person pulling the strings of the timekeepers? And I feel like that's either Loki or Kang. I think Kang will make an appearance on the last episode, but I'm leaning towards it being Old Man Loki. And the reason I'm doing that is because, everybody guessed that it would be a Mephisto in the WandaVision show, and I kind of thought, that seems wrong. And in the end, it was Agatha all along, but really, it was Wanda all along, right? And so the whole show was about Wanda and Vision. He was secondary, but yeah. On the Falcon and Winter Soldier show, it was about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. On this show, it's going to be all about Loki. And so even though we have these other characters, we have some other things going on, I think ultimately Old Man Loki, or a version of Loki, is going to be the one having created and pulled the strings of the TVA. Alright, so some of the cool things that just happened there at the end, we get that Old Man Loki, we get Kid Loki. And so I said early on, I believe Kid Loki would be in the show. Now, the reason I said I think Kid Loki would be in the show is because that would lend itself to the Young Avengers. Of course, Sylvie was in the Dark Young Avengers, but I'll give you one better. I think we're making the Young Avengers, and we're either making Thunderbolts and Dark Avengers, or, I'll be honest, they may just, like Sylvie, smash the two together and make Thunderbolts / Dark Avengers. So I think we're going to find that Norman Osborn gets brought into the universe in the Spider-Man movie. I wouldn't be surprised if ultimately that creates the Dark Avengers, and Sylvie ends up in that Dark Avengers. Also think that Kid Loki will end up in the Kid Avengers, or Young Avengers, I'm sorry. And, that'll be with Wiccan, and that'll be with Speed, and that'll be with, all those folks. So, I think the show was great. I think Loki, when he finds out, when Owen Wilson tells him that Sylvie is dead, or that she's been, her branch has been whatever cut, he cried a little tear. I think that was great acting. I think everything on the show has been pretty amazing. Didn't like last episode. It was pretty slow, but it's building. For this episode, I think the next one's going to be pretty darn amazing. I imagine we're going to find out that there's a council of Lokis, that there's a whole bunch of Lokis that are trying to take over Purgatory. Maybe I'm wrong, or Limbo. Maybe I'm wrong, but I kind of think so. I think they're going to break back out. I think we'll find Owen Wilson still alive, but he's in Limbo as well. And I think we're going to get those guys back to the real world and take over the TVA. I do think it's weird that they were able to stop the whole variant thing. They're not, ultimately, the multiverse was going to be created. So definitely we know that the Doctor Strange movie is called Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, so there's got to be a multiverse in order to have the madness. So it's not like a super big secret there, guys. All right, any questions, ask below. Hit the subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications whenever I start talking here. And thanks everybody for listening. Have a great one there. Bye.